Okay, today we'll continue with our discussion on what exactly, how do we understand politics, right? In the last class we discussed, very briefly how the political ideas have evolved, from the ancient times, medieval times, modern times. We also discussed several important events that had shaped our political ideas as well. We spoke about several ideologies called liberalism, socialism and all that, okay? Now, the first thing that we'll have to discuss as a part of political science syllabus proper is, the nature of ancient Greek political thought. Okay? How the ancient Greeks conceived the idea of politics. Now, can you tell me what do you understand by the word politics first, to start with? Politics. How do you understand this word politics? What do you think is politics all about? Normally, you know that we're all individuals. We have certain needs. To fulfill those needs, we enter into associations, okay? And interaction of these associations create institutions, okay? Obviously, we create associations like family. Family is an association, isn't it? Two people coming together after having understood their belongingness to each other, right? And then slowly, the family expands into a clan. Clan expands into a tribe. So whenever such associations are established by individuals, we require institutions to regulate these associations, isn't it? We have institutions like, state, okay? You have institutions like religion, because we require to control individuals, isn't it? For a very long time, religion played the role of creating order in society, okay? So people followed religion and they orderly established their society, okay? Now, you know that whenever people enter into such relationships with one another, they do so for protecting their interests. We have some emotional interests. We have the needs for having a companionship, and therefore we enter into an association called family. We require protection from threats, so we organize ourselves into a clan, okay? And then as clan expands into a tribe, we see common economic advantages of associating amongst ourselves, isn't it? Now that develops into a tribe, rather, something like that, okay? So individuals have their interests, and for protecting their interests, individuals enter into associations, obviously. And this is how usually men begin their social interaction. And whenever these associations interact with each other, we require some order, some control. For that, we create institutions. We create something called culture, or we create religion, so that order can be established, sir. Okay? Throughout the entire medieval period, social order was established by religion. Even in India also, for that matter, even in medieval period also, religion played a very important role in ordering the society, in structuring the society, in establishing social relationships, in categorizing people into various groups. For example, we had the Manudharma Shastra. Have you heard about that? You have not heard about Manudharma Shastra? Now, this was a book that was written by supposedly a person called Manu, okay? And he proclaims in this book that the Indian society consists of 4 varnas: the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and the Shudras. The Brahmins have taken their birth from the forehead of the primeval man, let's say a god, okay? So, from the forehead of the original man, the Brahmanas have taken their birth. Kshatriyas have taken their birth from the shoulders, Vaishyas from the thighs, and the Shudras from the feet. Okay? So these are 4 varnas, and because the Brahmins have taken their birth from the forehead of the primeval man, they should pursue knowledge. Okay? And because Kshatriyas have taken their birth from the shoulders, which is very close to heart, they are full of spirit, and therefore they should be the warrior class. Okay? Shudras have taken their birth from the thighs. Okay? Thighs are considered to be the most abundant part of human tissues. Therefore, Shudras are supposed to be the producing class, to take the society to abundance, to prosperity. Okay? And what is the work of the feet? The work of the feet is to carry the whole body, isn't it? In the same way, Shudras, who form the bulk of the society, should perform services to the other 3 varnas. Okay? And this was creating a social order. Right? So religion was taken as the aid to create a social order. Okay? and to create a semblance of relationship between the various social groups. Even in India also. It was the case in European countries, it was the case in India also, okay, in the medieval period. So we have individuals who have interests. To fulfill their interests, individuals enter into associations, and for the interaction of these associations, we create institutions like culture, okay, religion, state, okay, state and the government. Understand this as the government, okay. So all these are primarily because of individuals pursuing their interests. Sometimes the interests of individuals may clash. There might be one group which is having one specific interest. There might be another group which is having another specific interest. The interest between these social groups may clash, isn't it? The process of reconciliation of conflicting interests between the social groups is called as politics. So politics is the process of reconciliation, okay, of conflicting interests in society through authoritative decisions. This is called as politics. Are you with me? Okay. Reconciliation and bringing about some kind of a mediation, some kind of an understanding, an agreement between groups which are clashing with each other. For example, there was this group of people in the Telangana region which wanted a separate state. Okay, there was another group of people in the Andhra region which wanted a Samaikandra. There was a clash of interest, isn't it? The whole process of the clash of interests and their reconciliation through authoritative decisions is called as the process of politics. That's how we understand the term politics. Very brief, I mean, you're just initially trying to understand what this is. Okay? So, there will be a group which is having its demand. It will articulate its demand. There will be another group which will counter this demand. There will be a clash. There will be a conflict of interest. The state will come in. The state will say, okay, let's sit, let's talk, let's mediate, let's negotiate. Okay? And state will ultimately come out with its authoritative decisions. Kada? For reconciliation of these conflicts. This entire process is called as politics. Okay, that's how it's understood. Okay, so there is always going to be groups in society. There are always going to be interests, and there are always going to be clash of interests in social life. So we require a process which reconciles these conflicting interests through authoritative decisions. This whole process is called as politics. Not normally as we understand as politics and a struggle for power, okay, and acquiring power. It's not that. It's not about that. It's about reconciliation of conflicting interests, okay. We'll come to all these things a little later. We'll have to discuss the nature of politics very soon in political science, okay. So, this is how actually the process of politics starts, okay. In social life, we all enter into relationships. We all establish associations like family and everything, and there is always going to be institutions which will be giving birth to bring about order in society like religion, state and all that, okay. Now please remember that at one point of time, culture was a dominant factor in creating order. At another point of time in history, religion became a very important factor in creating order in society. In modern times, state plays a very important role in creating order in society. In present times, it is the state, that is the government, which creates a semblance of order to keep society in a state of peace, isn't it? Despite so many conflicting groups and conflicting interests, isn't it? So this is how we understand where politics begins. Politics will begin with the individuals and groups having their interests and conflict of interests and the process of reconciliation of interests. Just remember this very briefly, okay? Now, as we discussed in the last class, the ideas related to politics for the first time took their birth in the ancient Greek period. This is called as the classical period, ancient Greek period. Okay, this is also called as the classical period, okay, the ancient Greek period. This was the time when people began to contemplate on how to better social relations, how to create order, how to create unity, how to distribute power, Who should be entitled to acquire power? You know, all these questions. How do we realize justice? You know, all these ideas were discussed by the ancient Greeks. This was the classical period. This was the time when philosophy had taken its birth. Any idea what this word means actually? Philosophy. Etymologically, the word philosophy is derived from two different words, two Greek words. Philo. Philo is lover. Okay? And Sophia is the goddess of knowledge. So anybody who falls in love with knowledge is a philosopher. Okay? So people began to understand things in their proper perspective. You know, people began to search for knowledge. And there was this one person who is usually called as the first philosopher in the entire world. Who is he? Any idea? The person who is known as the first philosopher, yes? Socrates. He is called as the first philosopher. He is the one who is the cause for the beginning of the entire story of political philosophy. Socrates. He was the original master. Okay? He was a person who was, normally very shabbily dressed. Okay? Not a very beautiful person. Okay? He was very popularly known for having a nose which looked like a flower and all. Okay? So you can imagine that he is not a very good looking fellow, right? And he had a nagging wife at home, obviously. Okay? When a friend asked him, should I get married? Socrates told him, by all means get married. If you get a good wife, you will have a happy life. If you get a bad one, you will become a philosopher. So no harm, isn't it? Okay. So Socrates was like that. He had a nagging wife and therefore he was always on the streets, obviously. Okay. So he was very shabbily dressed. He used to walk into the streets. Okay. And he used to start discussing issues with a lot of people. Ancient Greece at that time was divided into political institutions called city-states. I think I showed you in the last class. City-states. They were called as polis. They were called as polis. The word polis in ancient Greece represents a city-state. The word polis represents a city-state. Today, what we have are what are called as nation-states. Okay. Today, what we have are what are called as nation-states. At that time, the ancient Greek civilization was characterized by political institutions called city-states. There used to be numerous city-states. Okay. The most popular among all these ancient Greek city-states was Athens. Okay. The other one was Sparta. Okay. There used to be another Greek city-state called Sparta. Sparta was more a warrior-like city-state. It was very popular for its warrior class. Okay? It was a military state. I told you, right? 300 movies, 300 movies. There used to be these 300 Spartans who were supposedly countering the march of an emperor called Xerxes. Have you heard his name? Xerxes. There used to be a very popular Egyptian emperor by the name of Xerxes. He was supposed to have invaded Greece with a huge army. The 300 Mandi Spartans, under the leadership of a person called Leonidas, they countered him, they obstructed him, and it's a legend. Okay? So Sparta was very popular for its military prowess. Athens was very popular for its democracy. Okay, Athens was very popular for its democracy. So democratic practices, democratic ideals, principles, values, they were very popular among the Athenians. Okay, that's the reason why Socrates, he had no work at home. No? His wife considered him to be a good for nothing fellow, it seems. Okay, so he used to go out, he used to engage in conversations and discussions with fellow Athenians. So here that he started a new type of pursuit of knowledge. Okay, and that method was called as the dialectic method. Okay. Actually, it simply means the dialogue method. Okay. Where people used to discuss issues, they used to converse, they used to exchange ideas, and finally, the most acceptable idea was retained. Okay. Right. This method was called as the direct method. This Socrates began to engage in this. Okay. He used to go around, he used to talk to people. Okay. Also, please remember that Athens was a port city. So people from different cultures, they used to converge at Athens. Okay, people from different cultures, they used to come and converge at Athens. Therefore, Athens was a place that was always throbbing with diverse cultures, opinions, okay, diverse races, and people used to engage in discussions and conversations. They used to exchange ideas, and that's the reason why Athens became a fertile ground for the birth of philosophy, particularly political philosophy. Okay. Now, please remember the method that Socrates proposed was the dialectic method or the dialogue method. If you want to acquire knowledge, what do? You look at books or you look at Google. అప్పట్లో అదేం లేవు కదా కాబట్టి people used to discuss and try to discover the truth. Okay. So if one person says, see, democracy is the best form of government, the other person says, no, dictatorship is the best form. They used to both engage in conversation. Okay, and the better idea used to prevail. Okay, and that was how knowledge. This method of acquiring knowledge was called the dialectic method. And Socrates was probably the very first philosopher. Sometimes you go, you keep seeing, some sculptures of a person sitting in a contemplative posture. Have you seen that? Yeah, that is Socrates, the first philosopher. Okay. So from here onwards, people began to ponder upon ideas. It was here that for the first time, people began to imaginatively seek answers for the various questions. Okay? And please remember that for the ancient Greeks, knowledge was not diverse, so it was not compartmentalized. For them, the entire body of knowledge was only philosophy. They did not compartmentalize knowledge. And that's the reason why Aristotle is father of biology, is also father of political science, because they did not compartmentalize knowledge. They did not see knowledge in different disciplines. Okay, they were multidisciplinary in their approach. Okay, they did not see politics as a distinct discipline. They combined politics, they combined economics. Aristotle is also father of classical political economy. Okay, he was the one who tried to combine politics and economy. Okay. Anyway, so Athens was the center where all the political thinking and contemplation began. Okay. So people began to now seek answers for a lot of questions. So it was Socrates who for the first time gave birth to these ideas. Socrates' disciple was Plato. Okay. Plato's disciple was Aristotle. Aristotle's disciple was Alexander. Okay. So this was how slowly a tradition was bequeathed. So it started with Socrates. Okay. He was the one who put forth the idea that knowledge is virtue. The idea called knowledge is virtue emanates from Socratic thought. Okay. Now, what is it that he's going to ask you in the examination? He's going to ask you the major features of ancient Greek political thought. What are the major features? One feature, they have given centrality to the idea of a city-state. Their entire political thinking was centered around this concept of city-state. They did not imagine any political institution outside a city-state.